Hi, Sarah here. I am here with Dr. Mark Schillinger. He is a chiropractor. He is the founder of the nonprofit Young Men's Ultimate Weekend and
Parent coach.
and a parent coach. So what a valuable person for us to speak to and answer some of your questions about raising these amazing, miraculous girls. So Dr. Mark, at Miracle Girls we talk a lot about having mentors and the importance of it. Why do you think having a mentor is important?
Well, once a daughter or even a son is over the age of about 7 or 8, they have to have mentors because they're biologically wired to leave the house. And the purpose of the parent is to show them how to leave. And if you can do that, then they'll always love you and stay attached. But at a certain age, they start to tune you out. They already know your virtues and your values. They already get your message. So when they hear similar messages from other people that they know the parents respect, they're going to actually pay attention. It's painful for parents to know that because it's their kids and they want them to be the only ones to teach their kids. But mentors have always played a crucial role in society, and we're really missing a lot of that now.
Yes, we are.
So to have mentors is crucial, especially now in the era of digital dominance, where these kids just want to look at their devices all day.
Right.
They need real people drawing out of them what's really important for them, not just as parents typically do, no judgment, but sort of laying on them what's true.
Right.
Now, at a certain age, 8 and over, they need parents and others to draw out of them what's true for them. And mentors don't have an attachment. They don't get upset the way the parents do.
Right.
So the kids are allowed to have more space in a sense to explore who they are.
Absolutely, yes. So part of that I hear is a lot of empowerment for them. And
Right.
I believe that a really strong way for them to be empowered is to communicate what they're thinking and what they're feeling. How would you suggest that parents help their kids to communicate what they're thinking and feeling?
Beautiful. Well, parents typically, especially when their kids are 8 to 15-ish, they tend to want to lecture them and sort of demand that they know certain things.
Right.
But by the age of 8 or 9, really the best way to empower kids is to ask them lots of questions. In our work with young men, we call it pepper them with questions. Because if you tell them what you think is the answer, they're just going to turn you off. And if you're going to teach them how to grow up and leave, then they have to learn to think for themselves, and that's how they develop their prefrontal cortex and other parts of their brain. So we pepper them with questions, and for parents, you have to relax because they're going to say some wacky things that may not be what you want to hear based on your values, but you've got to give them the freedom to explore. And so when they hear all your questions, they're forced to go inside because that's where the answers are ultimately, as we know as adults, right? So you lead them with questions, and you have to know how to draw out what their virtues and values are. Because they don't want to hear yours. By the age of 8 or 9, they already know what you stand for.
Right.
So if you don't know how to teach them to discover their virtues and values, then you're actually not empowering them. That's how you do it. And then your job is to hold them to the behaviors that actually reveal those virtues and values, so they can always be true to themselves.
I love that. Yes, thank you. So you talk a lot about values and virtues, and we talk about that at Miracle Girls too. And I love how you really call them to discover that from within. So how can parents, how can they help their children and their teens, their youth, to develop this on their own?
It's a big question.
Yeah.
I'll give a quick answer.
Okay.
To me, a virtue I describe as a one-word entity. And I say entity because it has a charge or a field or a force. So virtues, typically like my virtues, some of them are authenticity, creativity, loyalty, persistence. So I define a value as the unique definition that each person gives to their virtue. So I have my own definitions of what these virtues are. So that's what a virtue and a value is. So when I'm working with young people, I ask them, like, what are your virtues? What do you really stand for? And they're one-word answers. And I might give them an example like compassion or honesty or creativity. And they'll kind of usually do the I don't know, and you just give them a lot of space. Like I'll challenge them sometimes. Is that the I don't know that you really do know but you're not telling me?
Right.
Or the I don't know that you really don't know and you need me to ask you some more questions? So some kids kind of know their virtues, you know. They'll say playfulness or freedom. And then I go, what does that mean to you? And so that's how I'm drawing out what their value is. So their value is what it means to them. I don't want them to think it means to, like what the parent thinks it is or what the dictionary thinks.
Right.
And then I ground it with, well, what are the behaviors of playfulness? Or what are the behaviors of compassion? Like, how would we know that you're being compassionate? Does that mean like you're opening the door for somebody? Or you're listening without interrupting? What does that mean for you? And I'm always creating like all this space. I don't make them wrong, ever, in this part of my mentorship. I want to know what they know.
Yeah.
And if they don't know, I go, it's great not to know. And that's a big part of mentorship. They don't have to know. And I'll say, you know what, I'll ask you tomorrow. But you might want to think about that. So that's how I do it. I ask them what their virtues are. I help them define it by saying, what does that mean to you? And then I'll say, how would we know that you're compassionate? Like, how would you behave?
Right. What does that look like?
What does that look
Yeah.
like? If my sister passed away and I was sad, how would you be compassionate? Or if you didn't do well in school, how would you be compassionate with yourself? So I'm always trying to lead them inwards. And once they get that they actually know answers, now they feel empowered. You can't just say you got to be empowered.
Right.
You have to teach them who they are, encourage them to behave that way, and that's how they become empowered. Not everybody knows their virtues, so I say, what are the things you love to do? What are the most fun things, or the most deepest things, or the most outrageous things you love to do? And then I'll lead them back. I go, what's the value of that? And then usually we can discover a virtue behind that.
Yeah.
So some people don't go for, I like to call it top down. They don't know their virtues, but they know their behaviors that are right for them. And then we can usually define themselves from there. That's how I help them become empowered.
I love that. Wow. And that's something we can do right now. That's something you can look at your daughter and start asking her questions right now. And you might really be surprised at what comes out.
Yeah, and
you know?
be open to the answers.
Yeah.
It cannot be what you need them or want them. They have to feel like you're mommy and daddy. You're making them safe to make mistakes or not to know, but eventually you're leading them to discover who they are, and that's what they're going to need when they launch at 18 or 20 or whatever it's going to be.
Launch, I like that word. Yeah, and that will change too. Like
Of
as
course,
they have
ours
different life
do.
experiences, ours do too. It's not something to get attached about, just a practice.
That's right, it's a practice.
Yeah, so thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
your time and for being here and for sharing your knowledge with us. And under this video, you're going to see all sorts of links to what Dr. Mark has to offer, and I hope you take
Thank you.
advantage of it. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yay, namaste.
Namaste.